Hey guys, Andrew McFarland here from StartAJuiceBar.com. Today we are talking about really breaking down all of the major juice and smoothie bar franchises and what their prospective costs are, some of their background, their history, really just doing a huge overview. So if you are in a place where maybe you're considering a juice bar franchise or smoothie bar franchise, or you're thinking about doing it on your own, you definitely want to know what the investment's going to be and also what the pros and cons are, which we're going to talk about as well in this video of starting your own versus actually buying into a franchise. Before we do though, if you guys are new to the channel and you don't know who I am and you don't know what we do, for over the past decade, myself and our company has had the pleasure of helping people like you launch and scale juice bar concepts, smoothie bar concepts, acai bowl concepts, healthy plant-based cafes, as well as running our own businesses in this arena. So all the information you're getting on this channel is coming from experience and it's not hypothetical. Also, before we start, my last request and invitation is to press the like button if you've been liking the content, because this is going to expose this video to more people. And as you guys know, our mission here is really to create a world where there are more healthy food service businesses than there are unhealthy food service businesses, because in my perspective, it doesn't make sense that we live in a world where there are more places that are not contributing to humanity's health and harming people than helping people. So we can create that world together. Now, diving in. So the format is I'm going to go through top franchises, cost associated, background, and then we're going to talk about the pros and cons of doing it on your own versus buying into a franchise. So first, let's start by talking about Smoothie King, right? Smoothie King is one of the largest juice bar franchises. They've been around since 1973. They started franchising in 1989. They've got over 1,075 stores all throughout the world, but primarily in the United States. And then they've got some locations in South Korea, Singapore, and the Cayman Islands. Now, what are the fees that are associated? The franchise fee can be up to $30,000. Now, if you guys don't know what the franchise fee is, this is an initial fee that you pay usually per location. Some franchises have discounts. If you do multiple stores at once, you want to do a 10-store launch, then they'll give you a discount on that fee. Sometimes, not always, but this is usually the initial franchise fee, assuming that you're going to start with one store. Then their ongoing fees, they have a 6% royalty of weekly sales. They have a 3% weekly sales royalty that goes to the advertising fund. So this is basically, they've got marketing that they do, but their individual franchisors or franchisees actually pay into this fund. Okay, then they've got a $200 monthly technology contribution, and then 2% of weekly gross sales for marketing as well. And then so the total is 9%. Now, just to do some quick math, if your business makes $1 million in a year and you've got 9% royalty, that means that, and I'm talking about gross income, you make $1 million gross income, you've got $90,000 that's coming off your bottom line from your net income that's going towards the franchise. We'll talk more about the costs that are associated, kind of standard industry income, so that you can kind of do some math and think about what works for you. All right, next, let's talk about Jamba Juice. Once again, one of the largest juice companies or smoothie companies, depending on how you look at them, because they were Jamba Juice and they changed their name to Jamba because I don't think they just wanted to be associated with juice. It was kind of ironic that they didn't sell juice, but they were called Jamba Juice, but that's neither here nor there. So they've been in business since 1990. They started franchising in 1992, so this is 2 years after they started opening. They have 870 stores. They've got stores in the United States, Taiwan, South Korea, the Philippines, Thailand, and Indonesia. Their franchise fee is $25,000, and their royalty is structured 6% of total net sales, 3% of sales for marketing contributions, and then 1% of net sales for local advertising contributions. So total is approximately 9% to 10%. Moving on. Looking at Tropical Smoothie Cafe, another really big player in this game. They are right now currently about 830 stores. They were founded in 1997, also started franchising in 1997, which means to me when I see this that they were really intending to launch the brand to franchise the company. They didn't hold back. They didn't wait. They just did it. Their franchise fee is $25,000. Their ongoing royalty fees, 6% of gross weekly sales, 3% of gross sales for marketing, 2% for local advertising, $50 per month for management information systems. And so total, you're looking at 11% off the top. Now that's, making $1 million a year, that's $110,000 that's going to this company. All right, moving on, looking at number 4, Booster Juice. This is a company that is really mostly in Canada. So if you're in Canada, I'm sure you know this company. If you're in America or another country, you may not have heard of them, but they're a pretty big company, right? They've got over 400 locations or around 400 locations, depending on how this is going. Obviously, these things with franchises can change quite rapidly, quickly because of the economic situation and so on. And so they have around 400 locations, founded in 1993, franchising since 2000, so that's about 20 years. Their franchise fee is $30,000. Their royalty structure is 6% of gross monthly sales, 2% of gross sales. For marketing contributions, 1.5% for local advertising, so approximately 9.5% off the top, right? Moving on, Maui Wowie. Now, this company currently has 150, give or take, locations in the United States, Mexico, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates. Products served, coffee and smoothies. So it's very straightforward, very simple. Founded in 1983, started franchising in 1993, and their royalty structure looks like, wow, $30,000, okay, which is, on the higher end, or maybe somewhere moderately in the middle. It's not extreme, but their ongoing fees, there's 15% of the price of purchasing the Maui Wowie products, supplies, and equipment. So basically what this means is that they force you, because different than some structures where they're taking a royalty on your gross sales, they're basically upcharging the products that they sell you. So they'll get you into a situation where you have to buy products from them, and then they're going to upcharge you 15% on whatever the cost of those products are. So that's the way they make money. Whereas in other franchises, there's, and this is a good time to share this, is that you're going to have different kinds of agreements in terms of what you can do and what you can't do. Some might require that you purchase from approved vendors. Some might not care as long as the product execution is going well. But franchises, in order to maintain consistency, do require a lot of controls, checks, and balances, so that way they can really maintain their brand and the consistency of the consumer experience, which is really important for them maintaining the value throughout their entire company. All right, so moving on. Planet Smoothie. This is Planet Smoothie at number 6. Also a pretty large company relative to like the Smoothie Kings and the Jamba Juices. Not that large, but relative to most businesses, they've got 120 stores roughly in 20 states around the US. So not a small business. Okay, they were founded in 1995, been franchising since 1998, so about 3 years later, primarily serving smoothies, fruits, whole food supplements, and their franchise fee is $25,000. The royalty is 5%, 2% for marketing, 1% for regional advertising. So you're at about 8% for total royalty off the top. So you're making $1 million, you're going to spend $80,000 on that royalty fee. Moving on, looking at Juice It Up, another company that's pretty popular in the United States. They currently have around 85 locations in 4 different states in the United States. So they've really centered it down. They're not, in 50 states in the US. They're not in a majority of them, but they do have a number of locations in a smaller number of states. They were founded in 1995, franchising since 1998. Smoothies, bowls, juice, snacks, very straightforward. What are their franchise costs? $25,000, and then 6% of net sales, 2% of net sales for marketing, so approximately 8%. Similar to other people that we've seen out there. All right, number 8, looking at Nectar Juice Bar. Nectar Juice Bar, kind of new comparatively to other ones. They were founded in 2010, been franchising since 2012. They've got about 165 stores across 17 states in the United States. Plant-based juices, smoothies, ice cream, vegan ice cream, snacks, grab-and-go drinks. So similar product offering. Their franchise fee is on the higher end of the spectrum from what we've seen right now. It's $35,000. The royalty is 6%, 2% of weekly gross sales for marketing, 2% of weekly gross sales for local marketing. So they usually have national marketing and local marketing. So in total, we're talking about 10% of royalty. You make $1 million, that's $100,000. Moving on, Robex. This is another franchise, not a ton of locations. They're primarily in California. They've got 83 locations in California and 1 store in Guam. And so sometimes when you see these kinds of companies that are really centralized in certain states, you may or may not have access to franchise in your own state. They've been around since 1996, franchising since 2001. Their franchise fee is $25,000, royalty 6-7% it seems of net sales, 2.5% of net sales for advertising, 2.5% of net sales for local advertising. So you're around 11 to 12%, okay? Next, we have Vitality Bowls. Okay, this is also relatively a new company. They've been around since 2011, started franchising 2014, have about 62 stores, give or take, around the United States, and focus on primarily smoothies and acai bowls, but they also sell juices, sandwiches, salads. They've got a pretty diverse menu. Their franchise fee so far is the largest that we've seen. It's $39,500 at the time of recording this video. Now, people's companies, just so you know, franchise fees change. They can become more, they can become less, depends on the demand and what they decide to do as a company. They're not bound and restricted to changing that. That's what they do. So this is about $40,000. Their royalty is 6% of sales, 1.5% of sales for National Advertising Fund. So in total, you got 7.5%. Make $1 million, that's $75,000, okay? Next, we've got I Love Juice Bar at number 11. They've got about 50 locations around the United States in about 12 states. They were founded in 2013, franchising since 2015. Their franchising fee is $25,000, which is, like we've seen, kind of on the lower end of the spectrum at this point, but not uncommon. Their royalty fee is 5%, and their marketing fee at this moment is kind of unknown. If they have it, how much it is. So total, you're about 5% or more. So 5% is going to be the minimum, but they're probably going to have something as most people do for marketing, but you might need to reach out to them because sometimes information is more or less public depending on how available it is. So next, moving on, we got Clean Juice. This company is actually probably the newest of the franchises that we've seen so far. They're unique in the sense that they do all organic, so it's the only USDA certified organic franchise that I'm aware of at this moment. They also cold press, which a lot of the other companies that I mentioned previously don't. And so they're based in Charlotte, North Carolina. They've got about 100 stores across 16 states right now. Founded in 2014, franchising since 2017. Their franchise fee is the highest that we've seen so far. It's $42,000 just as initial buy-in per store. Their royalty fee is 6%. Their gross weekly sales, the percentage of marketing for gross weekly sales is somewhere between 1% and 3%. I'm not sure how they're determining that. So obviously, if you're interested in their company, you can learn more about that. And then they've got a $100 a month technology fee. So they're somewhere between 7 and 10% of overall sales. So just do the math, as I mentioned before. Next, we've got Smoothie Factory. Smoothie Factory has been around since 1996, based in Dallas, Texas. They've got about 33 stores across the U.S. Same thing, they focus on smoothies, juices, bowls, and frozen yogurt. Their franchise fee is $30,000. Royalty fee is 5%, 2% for marketing nationally, 1% for local marketing. So that comes to you about 8% total. So you see the theme, on the low end, you're probably going to be at a place where maybe you hit 6%. That's very, very low, but most of the time you're closer to 8 to 10% of your total gross sales when it comes to starting a franchise. Next, we've got Pure Green Juice. Now, this is the last franchise that we're talking about. They're the newest as well, from what I can see. They've started in 2014. They've been franchising since 2019, so that's only a year ago. They've got 13 stores across the United States. They focus on smoothies, acai bowls, cold pressed juice, oatmeal, and wellness shots. Their franchise fee is $30,000. Royalty fee is 7%. Marketing fee is 2%, so that gets you at 9% total off the top. So now we can talk about what are the pros and cons and what are the financial implications. So for example, as we mentioned, you're at about 8 to 10% on average of gross sales. Let's just use this analogy and this example I've been using. If you make $1 million, which is a good amount for a juice bar. There's juice bars that make more, smoothie bars that make more. Some make a little bit less, but if you're doing $1 million, you're doing well. On average, you're going to be in a space where maybe you take home 25% if you're doing really, really well. Let's say even 30% of that $1 million, okay? And the more money you make, the more money you keep. It's kind of the paradox, right? Because your fixed costs stay the same, meaning your rent doesn't change. And so even if you're at $1 million, in some situations, you may even take home 30%, maybe even 40%, but that's probably pretty high. So let's just say 30%, you're doing well, which means you're going to take home $300,000 off of that $1 million. But you've got a 10% royalty fee. That means it's basically around 30% of your net. They're going to take $100,000 if it's 10% off of $1 million, and you took home a $300,000, and now you've got to pay an extra $100,000. So that leaves you with $200,000 in this scenario. So for some people, they'd want to keep that extra $100,000 a year. It's not a small amount of money. For some people, they don't mind giving it up because they're buying into a franchise. And so from my perspective, the benefits of a franchise are obviously you're buying into a brand that exists, that people are familiar with. So with that, there's already built-in marketing because of the familiarity of that company. Number two, you have proven systems, right, that have hopefully worked for other franchisors, depending on how mature the company is, but you usually have a lot of systems in place that are going to support you in launching and executing your business consistently. Those are the major benefits. This is really why people buy into franchises, for the brand recognition and for the systems. What are the downsides? Well, we all know right now it's expensive. It's a lot more expensive to buy into a franchise than it is to actually start your own juice bar business and own your own concept. Another downside, which I think is a really big one, and it's one I want to emphasize, is that the industry is changing. Consumer demands are changing. They're becoming a lot more dynamic. When you build a franchise out, you have to build a business that's kind of more middle of the road, meaning that the ingredients that you have access to are not as dynamic. You can get them throughout the US because it has to support all of your franchisees in the US. You can't build a concept that's so unique in terms of its product offerings that it starts to become a challenge for the people who need to actually source your ingredients. And so a lot of people run into issues when it comes to that, and when it comes to the fact that the consumer demands are evolving. It's very dynamic. The new trends, celery juice became a trend. At one point it was goji berries, and then it's kale. And so if you have this even on a local level, because every smaller environment has its own kind of trends of what people are into, whether you're in Los Angeles, California, or you're in the middle of Texas, the things that people want are going to be different in that area. What's popular, what people desire. If you're part of a franchise, most likely you're not going to have a lot of flexibility in being able to modify and change and create your own recipes, because that's going to reflect poorly on the parent company and the larger brand as a whole. So you get stuck into a situation where you don't have the flexibility to adapt your menu unless somebody approves it or they're smart enough to realize the trend that's going on and be ahead of the curve. And so what happens is a lot of these companies become antiquated and they kind of become behind the times, because the small retail shop can be more dynamic in its offerings and more personal and more connected to just having their ear, or they could say like their finger on the pulse, right? So ultimately, I find that the position that we're in to be able to help clients actually starting their own concepts from scratch, reducing their upfront fees, reducing their restrictions, right? You own the company. To me, there's so much more beauty in that. And you don't have any limitation as to what you can do in the future. If you want to start to become the franchisor, you can do it. You own your company, right? You can charge people a royalty. You can charge people for your company's buy-in to use the brand, right? If you own the brand. So the major benefits, the only other thing that you can't do is obviously if you're starting your first store, you don't have the benefit of having 100 locations and people knowing about your company. But that being said, there's ways to market your company. And if you're in a good location and you're executing well, people don't have the same kind of loyalty to franchises to where they're going to see a company that's a juice bar that they don't know of but has good Yelp reviews, is executing well, is presented well, the brand is professional, and then they know another company that they're not really married to. So I find that starting your own juice bar concept, smoothie bar concept, is much more beneficial. It saves you money in the short term, the long run, and it gives you more freedom as long as you can utilize the proven systems, which we are here to help you with on executing. So if you guys do want to talk about that and you are in a place where you're interested in seeing how you can go the route of starting your own concept, reach out to me personally at Andrew@StartAJuiceBar.com. Would be happy to discuss this. And if you guys haven't pressed the like button yet, go ahead and do that. If you like the video, if you have any questions or comments, put it in the comment box below. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that way you get alerted when we have new content. If you're not following us on Instagram, do that at StartAJuiceBar. And lastly, we've got a podcast on iTunes and on Spotify at the Juice Bar Experts. So go ahead and follow us there and listen to some of the episodes we have. Until next time, hope you guys are happy, hope you're healthy, and I'll see you soon. I hope you guys have been enjoying all of the content. If you're in a place where you are really inspired to start your juice business, but you're not exactly sure what the next steps are, for you, we've created a free ebook, The 15 Steps to Starting Your Juice Business from Scratch. This is going to give you an overview of everything that you need to do from just having a concept all the way to launching your business. Beyond that, if you're inspired to go even deeper, we've created an online course, the Juice Bar Master Blueprint, that is going to go into great detail into every single area of launching a successful juice business. There's links for both of these in the description below. I know you'll find a lot of value out of them. As always, wishing you guys a lot of success, and I'll see you at the next video.